Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, sitting down for a somber video. A dream may have died this week. Now, I'm gonna try to be mature about this, but I am a bit heartbroken. Y'all know I've been pulling very hard for years. Remaster Fallout 3, remaster New Vegas. Hey, why not, with Skyrim being all the rave, go back, remaster Morrowind, remaster Oblivion. I was totally cool being a Todd Howard simp, saying a fresh coat of paint, a new trophy achievement list. These games have been out of the public mind for so long, it'll do just fine, Bethesda. I was willing to take the lowest of lows. However, in an exciting leap in technology, I think a lot of remasters, including one that we have been asking for a while, are going to start to have the off switch hit on them. And this will remove a nasty business practice where re-releases have always been a thing. Think of the first Valkyrie Profile game that came out on PS1 and that was effectively remade for PSP and Valkyrie Profile Lenneth. Or Mega Man X, one of my favorite games of all time, and then it was remade into X Maverick Hunter on the PSP. This is not an uncommon thing and has persisted for generations. But perhaps this new piece of technology, putting it in the hands of players, can really change the game. So we're gonna get into it in a video that I'm both excited about, but also very sad. I'll explain why, but ladies and gentlemen, if you are new here, you're into Bethesda news and information, consider subscribing. So how does this all connect to Bethesda? Nvidia held a presentation a couple of days ago. And during that presentation, they debuted the 40 series, which is an arm and a leg, but they also showed off the new RTX remix software and how it's going to change classic games. Now, they used a couple of examples, one of them being Portal, but the main example they used throughout a 6-minute presentation was Morrowind. I actually couldn't believe it, and it was such a gut-wrenching moment of what we've asked Bethesda for years, and seeing how, I don't want to say simply it can be done, but how much of a game changer it's going to be for modding, where I think what Todd Howard and the team has been saying for a while now has come full circle and makes a lot more sense. For those who aren't caught up, whenever Todd Howard, Pete Hines, any reps at Bethesda were asked about remasters of any of these games, they said, why would we tamper with the original product?
Back and remastering all the games. I know there's a lot of Morrowind fans out there who will absolutely kill me if I don't say something about it.
We're actually more interested in working with platforms to have, and Morrowind runs backwards compatible now. Yeah. So that's where, whereas I like remasters, I like the charm of the way it was.
Back then.
Personally, like when you watch an old movie.
Yeah.
And so I'm much more interested in how can we work with Microsoft, Sony, or PCs to make sure that game works well. That if you want to play it the way it was, you can install it and play it and all of that, as opposed to it's that same game, but it looks really, really different. That's just my own personal preference.
Okay.
Backwards compatibility exists, and now with FPS boost and additional resolution options existing, why would we re-release the game? And I always admired Bethesda for that, even though they released Skyrim 1,000,001 times, that they seem to have a pretty reserved hand when it came to re-releasing any of their other old content. I think they just understood Skyrim was a free revenue button they could hit whenever, and because it became a meme, they went, well, let's just lean into it more. Not to justify it, but I do respect that with other games they 100,000% could have remastered and did the lowest level of effort and got away with it, that they have chosen not to. But now it makes sense what they are saying to me. I always argued, well, backwards compatibility isn't available to everyone. Also, when it came to Fallout 3 on Steam, because of the Windows Live gaming menu, that was inaccessible. There were so many hurdles, but now that's been removed. And when you look at what RTX Remix is, it really makes it a hard case for if you would ever remaster one of these games, why it would belong on PC when there are excellent free options available. So what Nvidia presented with Morrowind was a software that I admittedly as a game developer am still wrapping my head around it. For those who don't know what I do when it comes to game development, I work a lot in level design, but also primarily in writing, creating characters you'll see in the main story, as well as working on the general design of the game, like how systems are going to interact, setting up the actual structure, the framework of the game. That's where I specialize. My skill set does not lie in programming, art, any of that stuff. That is far beyond me. So that's why some of this stuff I'm looking at, I'm a little rusty on. Those types of terms just do not compute. But to put it in a simple way for those who are like me and do not really understand this type of stuff, but what effectively happens is you will open the game, take a snapshot of it with RTX Remix, and it will actually open it up for you to see all the assets within the room that you just took that snapshot in. And from there, you can tweak lighting, create new shadows, change the hue of lights, add new assets to the actual room itself. It becomes truly modding as you know it and love it. But you can also open a program known as Maya, which is used a lot for 3D modeling, for example. And in Maya, you can actually tweak these objects, like they started to maneuver a table, split it apart in multiple pieces. This is important because, again, in real time, you were able to hit a refresh button and boom, it updated in the game. You could see it right then and there. There was no building, waiting, loading. It was just do this, click refresh, boom, done. Not only that, but they had AI enhanced ray tracing that made everything in the game look better, from the actual textures to the lighting. It looked like a truly remastered Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. And it was fascinating to watch it all happen in real time. Again, this is big for the modding community, which was already super ambitious for Bethesda, Morrowind being a heavily modded game. Of course, Skyrim being one of those games. Now we have other older Elder Scrolls games being remade within Skyrim. We already know about Skyblivion, Skywind. This is presenting the case that fans could literally remaster from top to bottom visually Morrowind. And that is tremendously exciting, because what it will do, as much as I will sit here and ask for the Bethesda remaster, because maybe they'll add some new content in, there is a ton of cut content for older Bethesda games, and I always wondered if they would restore it, the quests, the lootable items, etc., that type of stuff would be awesome. But what it does remove is the potential, maybe down the line, for these companies to do these shameless cash grabs that they often do when it comes to remasters. There have been dozens of them. I think our worst era was in the early 2010s, where it felt like everyone was remastering everything as we headed into the PS4, Xbox One generation, and it continued down that path. The new version of that nowadays is next-gen upgrades, especially when they're paid upgrades. It's even more infuriating. I think in that way, it's become even worse. But for a while, we were constantly getting remasters. And of course, as we know, we're really in the era of remakes. The generation has gone through a full cycle, and we're bringing back the old and making it the new. But what's happening here is that if fans can create a compelling case for these types of products to not exist, it will force creatives to go back to the drawing board and get this, make new things. I have not been against the remaster remake era at all. There are plenty of older games that I've loved to see in a new light, whether it's a simple remake like Destroy All Humans, which presents the game in, its original light. It's just looking a lot better, or something more ambitious, I would say, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, which completely rewrites the original story of the base game and plays with the universe in a superbly unique way. Either way, I have supported this movement in the industry because I do think it's fun. I am, of course, based off Retro Rebound, you might have guessed it, a nostalgic individual, but not everyone is taking one of these two paths. There are some low-level remasters rolling out. I would have to call out THQ Nordic as one of them. There are examples where it's a, oh my God, this exists moment, like, say, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. That is just, to me, crazy that that's a game that exists. I can't believe it. I can't wrap my head around it. And because that game exists, now we're getting Cosmic Shake. Awesome. That is cool. But then you get things like Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, which that game I love dearly, but it does have some issues. And I feel they could have worked out more kinks, cleaned up the combat, cleaned up with some quality of life enhancements, and they really didn't do that. They just sold the base game again, and that can be frustrating. Even though they did give you a discount. For example, if you bought it on PC and you already owned it, they would still take $20. That's because EA was involved, believe it or not, so they wanted their piece of the pie. But to me personally, they are definitely the cream of the crop right now for remasters that just exist and do not add much to the game that they are trying to respect from the past. So there is that potential that gets cut out. What this does mean to the main talking point of this video, I can't see a Fallout 3, a Fallout New Vegas rolling around as a remaster, especially when Bethesda's already been pro-modder. They have been pro-back compat. They have been pro, go play the original game. We don't want to tamper with that experience. And now you throw into this new RTX remix software that makes it where, at least on a presentation front, remastering a game, I don't want to say it's easy. Nothing in game development is easy, but it looks simplified as it happens before our very eyes. It's this future-born technology that you see in movies, you hear about in sci-fi, as things are configured and changed right before your very eyes, and you think, well, there's certainly no way that'll ever exist, and we're living in that time. And that does change the landscape because Nvidia is giving modders a tool set that's even saying to people who are making, let's say, Sky Oblivion, well, you could remake every asset that was in Oblivion and bring it to Skyrim. And there is the benefit of what they're doing with Sky Oblivion, which is literally remaking maps, adding depth to dungeons, changing some quests. So it's a true remake. They're changing the HUD, the menus. I'm tremendously excited for that. But they're also making the case that, hey, you could just go in and change up the scenes here through our software and remaster it with AI. I mean, it is mind-blowing what they're showing here. And of course, I'm not trying to, again, I need to emphasize, simplify it. Nothing in game development comes across that easy as it seems, but that allows certain other decision making in the game to be done with some relative ease, where it's not like you're banging your head against the wall here, especially in the terms of optimization. So I found this to be incredibly exciting, but also a bit of a somber story that I may have to lay to rest my desires for Fallout remasters. I really kept it up for a long while. I'll be the first here to celebrate. I'll be the first here to tell you in retrospectives, go play these games. I'll continue to do that stuff because I love these games. But I'm starting to think that now we have 2 consoles checked off, 2 systems checked off on ways to play these games in enhanced versions without us spending more money. Again, Xbox back compat, now PC, of course, with modding existing, it was already improved, but now there's seeming to be simpler ways to make it look like a modern title, a fresh coat of paint. You just got to solve the PlayStation side of things. And I guess you could argue that PS Plus with the PS Now streaming could technically be that. I think there needs to be a native option. And if one day that is offered, which it has been reported, PlayStation's looking into native PS3 support on the PS5. If they can figure something like that out, that will be not only a game changer for PlayStation, but if they can get those types of games there is simply no need for it unless Bethesda is starving for cash, which when you're owned by Microsoft, I doubt it. So possibly, I don't want to full commit because part of me just always wants to believe, but this is indeed the end of an era. So I appreciate everyone being on this ride here with me, but it is, in all seriousness, tremendously exciting to see what Nvidia is doing. Again, of course, I am not super knowledgeable on the programmatic side of things, so I do ask those of you out there who are modders, who are more familiar with this style of work, please let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Is this as big of a game changer as people are talking about it as? I've seen the comments, I've seen the writings on Twitter, Reddit, the YouTube comment section. The modders are tremendously excited about this. So do you think this will live up to the potential that's in our heads or not? Fire away. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.